future is now.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you or have you hear me again on the next episode of the Next Now podcast. And in this episode, I want to talk about strengths and weaknesses. You know, it's interesting as the pace of change continues to accelerate, you know, with the continued evolution of AI, ChatGPT, technology innovation, you know, we have to all be very aware of what is our human value. And part of that human value is getting really honest, I think next level honest of our strengths and our weaknesses. I mean, for many of us, we go through our work, we're very effective, we're very efficient. For any of you listening or watching, you're very successful, or you wouldn't even be listening to or watching a podcast of this nature. So let's already just say that your baseline for excellence is already pretty high. And I believe that what AI and automation and ChatGPT is forcing us to do is to elevate our perspectives on our value. And, you know, we can go psychological on this. You know me well enough if you've been listening that I always link everything to the human nature of psychology and how we respond as human beings to things. But rather than go to the fear of irrelevance, I think it's really important to elevate to what are my strengths and actually I don't even really love the word weaknesses, but what are my areas of development, if you will. And I think if you're a leader listening, it's a really opportune time in the fall to look at this honestly, not only for yourself, but also for your team members. So from a personal level, you know, life has a way of pointing out our areas for development. Do you not agree? I know for myself, this has been this summer, a couple of big things. I hit a milestone birthday. I also had some really big challenges in my time, in my commitments, in my personal life. And yet those challenges helped to reveal those areas that I've always been aware to develop, but they literally helped me to develop them because the circumstances created a presence that I had to have with those challenges. And so the choice we have when we're faced with challenge is to either revert to a weakness or our area for development or to leverage our strengths. And I'd love to say it's as simple as we all automatically leverage our strengths. But as humans, we go through emotional cycles of dealing with circumstance or challenge. And so I can share with you quite openly that in the last few months, I've gone through those emotions of overwhelm, overcommitment, over-promising, and then a cycle of truth and awareness in some of the relationship dynamics I've got going on. And then also then to the awareness of where am I most effective? Where am I over giving perhaps? Or where am I not maybe expecting or asking other people to step up to help me? Where am I not asking for help? All of those questions come out of the challenges that we face. And I think that's the gift of challenge, to be very honest, is it causes us to evolve and grow. It doesn't feel that way when we're in it. It can feel extremely painful and we can feel like a failure and we can feel extremely vulnerable. And I can attest to all of that for myself. However, it also, you know, because I'm wired the way I am, which is I believe that pain leads to progress. And I also believe that painful circumstances force us to rely on or to further develop our strengths. So, you know, I found myself vacillating between, you know, feeling the pain of my circumstance, feeling stuck, feeling like I wanted to escape, seeking freedom, to then going, okay, what are my strengths? Well, one of my major strengths is my ability to reframe. I can literally take any circumstance that I face or any client faces or anybody faces, and I can help reframe it to greater understanding of the why of why is this happening and why now, and what does it mean for your life, my life? What does it mean for our future? So reframing is definitely a strength I have. And so I got to leverage that muscle this summer and reframe a lot of what I was going through. I also attended a 8-day retreat where I got to immerse myself in that investigation of my strengths. And what I discovered was anytime I've ever had a major breakthrough in growth, it's been when I've gone through a major challenge. Now, you know, I don't wish everybody to go through challenge in order to get growth, but it is part of the human condition, right? And so the reality is we can either become a victim of a circumstance, or we can become identified by the circumstance. But when I was at the 8-day retreat, I was reminded that we are not our circumstances. We are more than our circumstances. We are human beings. And dare I say, for those of you that are maybe newer to listening to me, we are even more than being a human being. We are energy. And if we are energy and a circumstance might be a singular event in our life, then what does it mean to show up with the energy that has the strength to succeed in that challenge? And so that became something that was my focus. And that 8-day retreat was really, really powerful in helping me not only reframe, but beyond that, link to the energy required to go through the next level of growth and change, and to learn from my experiences that I've been through. As human beings, every experience that we go through becomes a gift for those that we interact with. And because my work is around coaching and speaking and consulting, I find every time I go through a challenge, the gifts to my clients are immensely amplified because I have become more aware. I've increased my vulnerability. I've increased my compassion. I've increased my insights. So that strength of reframe was something that I was able to really value and leverage in this past summer. And then another strength of mine is to make sense of, or to create context for. So I don't find that it's helpful to say, why me? Because that's a victim question. Why me? I find it more helpful to ask, why might this be happening at this time? And what does it have in common with previous experiences that I've had? And what's the pattern? And what is that pattern showing me about choices I need to make for being more effective, building more resource for myself, building more strength, resilience, and happiness? So those are just two strengths for me, that reframing, and then that also context, like seeking the patterns and then building awareness from those patterns. But thirdly, I would say that one of my strengths is energy. I have the ability to harness, to access, to gather energy, unseen energy, and bring that energy to myself, to my relationships, to my realities. And then that energy infuses solution, it infuses connection, it infuses collaboration, it infuses growth. Now, when you're in the midst of a challenge, none of that's accessible, really. It's more like you're in it and you're feeling it. And I really believe, like, I used to be somebody who'd want to avoid feeling that through years and years of working on myself and doing energetic work. It's like really about being with, but then elevating once we've made sense of it and context of it. So as you're listening, I hope you can relate, or even, maybe feel that, yeah, I can relate. I've got some of my own stories or my own things that connects to what Cheryl's saying. But further to that, sort of some things to think about beyond this episode is to think about, okay, what are the challenges I'm going through now, or I've been through recently, where I've maybe focused more on how bad I feel, or how I might be a failure, or how I'm ashamed, or whatever those feelings are. And can I turn that into awareness around my strengths? So one thing I'd like you to think about after listening to this podcast episode is, what are the strengths? What do people say you bring to them when they are in a challenge? Or what is it, your unique offering, that allows you to inspire others? What are your strategies that gives you more energy? And when I say energy, I'm talking about, physical energy, but also spiritual energy. And I don't mean religious. I'm talking energy around inspiration, motivation, getting your mojo back. What are your strengths that help you do all those things? And for this podcast episode, I don't usually get this personal, but that's this is the evolved version that says that I'm not afraid to admit that I have challenge. I'm actually willing, human to human, to have those dialogues. And for people who've coached with me, they know that I'm very transparent, and I am actually transparent on stage as well. But from a podcast standpoint, I want to model personal leadership, which is doing the work on ourselves so that we can show up for those that we serve at the next level of evolution. So really on this podcast, it's about strengths and weaknesses and what's the gap between them. And like I said, if you don't like the word weaknesses, what are your areas for development? And if you will join me in the next 90 days to commit to that deep evolutionary questioning of that and really committing to growing and being better, authentic versions of ourselves, I would be honored to have you join me. And that's not something you need to do formally. That's just an energetic commitment based on listening to or watching this particular podcast episode. All right. I hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you on the next episode.